Okay, so this is part two of my two-part series on reloading black powder cartridges. Just to review, I am loading up 357 mag cases, and I'm using a FFFg GoX load. It's about 22.5 grains of powder underneath a 158 grain bullet. And here we go. Here's a bunch of bullets that I've prepped. I've removed the old wax, and I've loaded up with some new wax. I got about I think there's about 100 rounds there. Yeah, it's about that. I also have a bunch of cases prepped over here. Here's one tray. I got 50 in there, and there's another tray. I've got about 50 in there as well. And as you can see, these have been primed, they've been sized. The mouth case has been opened up for the bullet. These are ready to go. All I got to do is load them with some powder and then put a bullet in. Now, if you're a first-time reloader, there's like a bazillion videos out there on how to do these stages. So go ahead and check those out. I'm not going to overview them for this video. Okay, so the first step we're going to have to do here is we're going to have to load up the case with some black powder. And in order to do that, I've created myself a drop tube. And this is it. And yeah, very sophisticated. Got a clip on my shelf that I've screwed in there so I can adjust the height. And then the funnel is it's a 5-cent piece of paper with a little bit of masking tape on it. Yeah, it's that simple. You have a good look at it here. Oh, the lighting's no good, but yeah, it's just a basic funnel. You can go nuts if you want and get yourself a tin one or a stainless steel one or some kind of copper or metal material type cone. Stay away from the plastics. Apparently, black powder does not like sparks, so plastics are kind of a no-no when it comes to reloading the stuff. So yeah, I'm just using paper. And this tube is just a piece of brake line that I got from Crappy Tire, and then I just lopped the end off of it and made it nice and square, and there we go. I used a chamfering tool and got rid of all the burrs, and that was it. I mean, I think this is a $3 piece of tube with a 5-cent piece of paper on the top and about a cent worth of masking tape. So yeah, not very expensive, really easy to make. I have a couple other tools that I've made for this. This is a scoop that I made out of 45 ACP case, and I trimmed it down until it came out to about 22.5 grains of powder. I basically just loaded it up, put it into the scale. Oh, I need a little bit more. Trimmed it off, tried it again, until it came out pretty consistently at 22.5. I also have myself a trusty glass jar here, which I put my powder into. And like I mentioned before, you don't want static electricity around black powder. I don't know if that's really 100% true or not. I did see a video online where somebody actually took a taser to a pile of black powder and it did not go off, so I don't know. Maybe that's an old wives' tale, who knows. I don't really want to risk it though, so yeah, I'm just going to stick with glass, with metal, and no plastics. So this is pretty easy. It's kind of, you just put your dipper into there, get yourself a nice load of powder, and something like so. Hopefully I'm still in the frame. And then I use a metal scale here and just scrape the top just to keep it for consistency. And there we go. There's our 22.5 grains of powder in our little powder scoop. And what we need to do is take our case, this guy right here, stick it underneath the drop tube, and then we slowly pour the powder into the funnel. Okay, so the case is in place. The tube is dropped into the mouth of it, nice and easy. So I'll just do this and just tip it out. And the idea is to go slow, and the idea is to just kind of trickle the powder out into the funnel and it flies down the tube and lands quite nicely into the case. And it gives it a little bit of compression. The final compression on the black powder will be done when you seat the bullet, but this is pretty much a standard method on how to get more powder into the case. I suppose for a 357 mag case and black powder, you could probably skip this step. You know, you might not be able to get as much in. Apparently, you can get about 25 grains into a 357 mag case. So using this method, you could probably do that. If you just wanted to skip it, you totally could. You might only get, 21 or something into the case. Hopefully you can see this. The lighting isn't particularly good on the table. But, oh yeah, you can just barely see. Yeah, there's the powder in there. Now what I did is I ended up comparing the case with the powder in it with a loaded case. Here's a loaded one here. This one got a bulge in it, so I just use it as an example. And then a bullet as reference. Like this. And you can actually measure the depth of the powder in your case and do a comparison like this to see how much compression you have. The goal is about 1/16 of an inch to 1/8 of an inch compression. The idea is you got to have that compression. If you want to use lower powder loads, you can. You totally can do that. There's a bunch of different methods on how to do it. For example, you could load like 12 grains of powder in there, or whatever you want, and use a filler like this is cornmeal. You just have to make sure that the cornmeal is you got the exact right amount. It may take some trial and error to get it right, but the idea is you put the powder in, then you back it up with some cornmeal to fill up the gap, and then you give it a 1/16 to 1/8 compression, just like you would with black powder. I don't see what the point is. I mean, if you're going to shoot a black powder cartridge, shoot a black powder cartridge. That's what I say. Full load, full power. I mean, why? Especially with something like this. This is pretty laid back kind of stuff. Some people, if they're using, from what I've read online, a Swiss powder, like a more powerful powder than Go X, like Swiss, under a 158 grain bullet, using as much as they can, upwards to 25 grains of powder out of a 357 mag, coming out of like a 6-inch barrel. They're reaching velocities of about 900 feet per second. So that's that ain't no wimpy load, to put it mildly, but it's not exactly blow your hand off 44 mag full power load. It's quite moderate, really. So the final step is to actually load the bullet into the case. And I've got a pretty standard setup here. The dies and everything are set up just like you normally would with any other cartridge, any other pistol or revolver cartridge. It's all the same. Nothing too special here. I've set it though where it has a fairly good crimp on it, as you can see when I'm done here. But yeah, you just load her in just like so. Give her a bit of a push. You know, if you're super special, you can turn it 180 or 190 degrees or so, and then there we go. There's the seated bullet. Just gonna wipe this off, and there we go. There is a completed black powder cartridge from top to bottom. The crimp is pretty strong on this. It ends up in the cannulature the way it's supposed to. And you just run your thumb up and down here just to make sure that it's you have no sharp edges. This is going to be going through a lever gun, so I got to make sure that this is nice and smooth. Especially with the Model 92 clones, they don't really like. They're not so great, believe it or not, with pistol cartridge, straight walled pistol cartridges. They like tapered cartridges like 4440 a little bit better. So you want to make sure that when you're loading something like this up and you're using a Model 92, that the edge, there's no edge here. I mean, it's nice and slick. That'll run through Model 92 action just fine. I haven't had any problems so far. So that's it, folks. I mean, the second part is actually quite quick. There's nothing really much to do here. All the primer, all the casework and everything, it's all the same as a smokeless load, except you're using, I guess the extra step would be the drop tube and making sure that the bullet is actually giving you some compression. And that's about it. There we go. So thanks for watching these 2 videos. If you have any questions, just put a post down on the bottom there. Share them if you share the videos, if you know somebody who's interested in doing something like this. And I think this will work. This method will work pretty much for just about any cartridge. Maybe some of the bigger ones, if you're shooting down a long-barreled rifle, you might want to back it up with a puck of lubricant behind the bullet. That starts to get a little tricky. Now you're talking about sealing it away from the powder, because you don't want the lubricant to mix up with the powder and then cause you ignition problems. I always store it upside down. I don't know if it really makes a difference or not. I suppose some of the lube probably did make its way down to the top of the powder, but I doubt it's enough to really make a difference. But that's it. There we go. Thanks for watching. Have a good one, and I'll see you out on the range.
You have caused confusion and delay.
Bye-bye.